Each function synchronized.
Hello, Megatennis. It's your boy G to the L to the I to the B, Young Glibster, back at you again with the premium medium content. First, I got with me the eight-legged menace herself, Spider.
Hi.
Next, we have the trash panda from outer space, DJ Nebula. Say what's good to the people.
Hey, how's it going?
And last, I believe we have a Lauren. I believe her name is Lauren. How are you doing this fine evening, ma'am?
I got Gabriel.
I hate you.
Absolutely brutal. That was a good intro. Thank you, new host of the show, Glib.
You're welcome.
Usurping the old, bringing about the new.
Fear the old blood.
So today's episode is a little. Usually, what we've done before is we've done either news and questions or Spoilercast, but we're sort of doing both because we played two short games, relatively short, not a lot of content to them games. So we're gonna have some time left over for sure. So we'll catch up on a couple of news things too. So we'll put a time code in for spoilers or something people don't want to hear. But these games they're old and short, so who cares, you know?
Yeah.
So we do have someone on the show who loves one of these games a lot. He talks about Jack Bros constantly and always tries to get us to play this. So Glib, please tell us what you thought about your experience with Jack Bros was. New host of the show.
Bad at this game. I don't even know what to say. I really have no words. I don't. Someone else go, please.
Damn. Well, for anyone who doesn't know, Jack Bros is an old Virtual Boy game, which means it's all in red and looks horrible and disgusting. I guess Larrue knows a little bit more about Jack Bros than me, so maybe he can talk a little bit about it.
Yeah, so Jack Bros is a Virtual Boy game released in 1995. During its pre-production, it was known as Devil Busters, but that was soon changed. And funny enough, the team Pyrojack and Jack Frost are known as the Devil Buster Busters in the Devil Summoner series. It's a game about these three demons, Jack Bros, their names being Jack Frost, Jack Ripper, and Jack Pyro. Oh no!
No, first
How do you mess that up?
He's called Jack Skeleton.
It's because I said Jack Ripper and I was like, no, that's wrong. He's Skeleton in this one, and then it ruined everything else. And then also their friend Pixie, who's guiding them because these three pranksters were out on Halloween and didn't realize that they were still in the human world, and if they stay in the human world after Halloween ends, then they're gonna die. Pixie helps them find their way back. This is the English version of the story, by the way. And you play as the Jack Bro, and the game takes about an hour to beat. And that's interesting because the game, because you only have an hour left canonically to get back home in the game. It's one of those, it's like what do they call them? Twin stick shooters? So,
I guess it sort of is. It didn't feel like that because I used D-pads. D-pad and a button. But yeah, I guess it could be. Can you move and shoot in a different direction?
Actually, wait, you could?
I don't know if you can. Because the twin stick shooter implies that, like, first of all, it would imply, like, 2 sticks. So not just moving in cardinal directions like in this game. It would imply full range of motion. But even if it was cardinal direction, which is fine, it would be like, can I backtrack and shoot in the opposite direction where I'm going? If you know what I'm saying.
Not backwards, but I could sideways. I don't know if that was a glitch or not.
Okay. That's kind of close.
Yeah, but I mean, it's got that element, but then instead of having health, you also have a timer. Getting damaged will reduce that time, as well as not knowing how to get through the mazes. The maze for each stage can have anywhere from, I believe the first one has 5 to 20 20 or so for the 6th and final stage. And I guess we can go around and say who we played as, because I played both as Jack Ripper and as Pixie.
I played as Frost, of course.
I played Frost.
I started with Ripper Skeleton, sorry. And then at some point I was like, this is a little too much. So I picked up a code from someone else to pick up where I left off on the when I got to a break point between the stages, and I switched to Pyro, who I really liked.
Oh, all right. Yeah. Each one plays a little differently. Frost has a projectile that has a longer range, but it's weaker. Pyro has a shorter ranged projectile, but it's stronger. And Ripper is the strongest character, but you have to be literally like right in front of whatever you're attacking. So it's the most dangerous. And then Pixie is, if you suck, her damage output is the same as Pyro, but it's the same range as Frost. So you have like the most broken like combination.
And there's a condition for unlocking her, right? Because when I started the game, I didn't have an option to play her. I only had the 3 brothers.
You have to put in her code. So I don't know. I don't know. I've never played it like in its actual form, but when you play when you play in this game, you get passwords, and each password is how you get to your save state in each stage.
But
yeah,
this is pre-save states, and the way they managed that was they had like usually alphanumeric. These ones are just numeric codes that you can enter, and that'll like come up with pre-generated state. So you can't just save the game. I guess with emulators you can, of course, but the way the game is set up, you can't. It doesn't have that built in. You have to use codes, which is a funny like. I haven't played a game that uses codes as like pickup points in a long time. I can't remember the last one.
The last one that had that for me was, it was just a transfer stuff to another game, but it was Golden Sun.
Right.
I mean, actually, I've been playing the first Digital Devils story, like literally the first SMT game for a different video. And the NES version has this password system too, and you have to talk to this guy, and he just gives you a long password. It's like so dumb, but like
luckily these are like 6 numbers. Usually it's like a bunch of like letters and numbers, and sometimes other special characters. Yeah. It's like, oh god.
But if you want to play as Pixie, you just got to put 4649, and then instead of confirming with just A, you have to push the right, the left, select and A all at the same time, and then you'll hear like a different chime, and that'll allow you to play as Pixie. And it's also useful because Pixie is the person that gives you all the advice and stuff if you're playing as any of the bros. So if you play as Pixie, you just don't get any of that, and it's really nice because Like, I don't like having the tutorial when I play this game so many times. I don't like getting that tutorial every single time.
Right. Yeah. So in the game, like almost every floor, Pixie will show up and be like, "Hey, by the way, here's a little note for you. There's a new enemy here." It's kind of helpful in the beginning, but yeah, at a certain point, it's like, "All right, man, I think I got it. Just give me some room."
Which, I mean, I will say that at least her advice the things that she says are always relevant. It doesn't feel like she's talking down to you, like how some like tutorials will just be very obnoxious. She's just like, "Oh, this guy is a projectile guy. Like, be careful."
And they're very succinct too. It's like 1 or 2 sentences. Usually it's succinct. Some of them are a little bit longer.
But I guess the overall question is, how did you guys like the game? Because it's a great game. It's near perfect, actually. The only bad thing is that there's only one color in the game, and that's red. But you can fix that by emulating. You could do it in grayscale, or you can do it in purple.
Oh, I should have done that. That's
mine was in blue too, though.
What?
Mine was in blue too.
You did blue? They have a blue option?
Mine was in red and blue.
Red and blue?
It had a weird 3D effect. I didn't like it. I couldn't see.
Oh yeah, that's sort of like a Virtual Boy thing.
Yeah, it sounds like you literally just.
Did you have 3D mode on?
Did you just play like the Virtual Boy version, like a stereoscopic 3D thing? Like, good.
Sounds like it. That's what it's like for me. But I
was there more than one option?
Yes.
The default option for like the emulator. So I think that could be an emulator thing, because the one I used is VJ Bin or whatever. I don't know how to pronounce it, but the VJ Bin, I think. And that one is like the default is purple, but you can change the setting to grayscale or red. Which emulator did you use? Because that would make a difference.
I used BizHawk.
Oh, so it's your fault, because I'd never heard of that.
I used that too.
Oh, you had the same effect or no?
I did it first, but I think I messed around with it. It wasn't as harsh, because like if you load up just the emulator raw and just put it in a game, yeah, it's a stereoscopic 3D and it looks horrendous. But I did something. I think I like either adjusted the window or did something else, and it looked perfectly fine. Like it was like a flat image. I don't remember what I did, but whatever I did worked, and it was not nearly as bad. But if you played the whole way through that, I can understand you having difficulty, because it makes it really hard to see pitfalls and traps and projectiles.
Yeah, because if you play it the normal way, like the not dumb way, the only like thing that affects your view is that the stars, to me, almost always blend in with the floor tiles. So because I know where they are, I just go to them. But if you're running through your first run through, you're not gonna like maximize all of your like special attacks. The stars, by the way, are how you activate your special skill. I scheme my my buttons differently, but I believe it's the right trigger to activate your special.
Yeah, each that's special what it's bound to for me, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, and each one is different. I don't remember any of them besides Pixie's, because Pixie's the only one I was using. I know that Ripper just throws a bunch of knives and like all over, and it does damage. It's supposed to insta kill everything, but it really just does a set amount of damage to whatever is on the screen.
Yeah, I think Jack. I didn't really play Frost, but I don't know if his really does damage.
It freezes the enemies, and it does damage to bosses.
Okay. Lantern is just straight up damage. I know that. And Skeleton, Skeleton is weird. You were saying it's supposed to do damage, but I feel like it didn't make the kill time on bosses any faster.
It depends, because like the only times I would ever use it for Ripper is basically the final boss, because the other bosses you can just get around it as long as you have enough time. And the only other boss that's actually annoying with Ripper is the vampire. Or is the vampire the one that summons all the bats? Yeah, right?
Yes, yeah. He has bats, and he has the moving floor, so you have to always be shuffling around trying to stab.
Yeah, and since
with your knife.
Yeah, so that one is the only other one where I would actually use a special. But if you're efficient, you'll just basically have you'll never need to use your special until like the second or the last dungeon, or second to last or last dungeon, I think.
Most of the bosses are pretty easy.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
most of the bosses are pretty easy until that point.
Yeah, it just it randomly gets hard. Like it goes from like dumb baby difficulty level to like, oh, you have to be at least over like over the age of 25, I guess, or however old Glib is to like beat the game.
Wow.
You must be this old to figure out how to play this children's game.
Yeah, this game is for kids. Like the market, if you look at the box art for the Japanese version, they even dumbed down the art style for Megaten to appeal to kids. They make them super chibi. So this game is for like toddlers, and Glib couldn't beat it. Let the record show that.
The Japanese in it is too. They specifically try to not use kanji. They just use hiragana almost throughout the whole thing.
Ooh,
awesome. For like time and stuff like that. But other than that, there's almost no kanji in it.
So it's like, because I know that they do that for Pokemon, and which is why I like to use Pokemon to practice, because it's like very basic and I know what they're saying. So you're saying it's like that where it's hiragana?
Yeah, there's no hiragana.
Nice. Is that a thing where like
it's still really easy to read because there's like, I don't know, they have one for fairy and hour and a couple other things that I forgot because it barely shows up. But it's mostly all hiragana, so a little kid could read it for sure.
Glib. So one of the things that I thought was weird about the game was the localization. So I guess the most striking localization change is that the box art is done by this artist Augie Pagan, who used to do Nintendo Power cover arts in the 90s. I actually talked to that artist about it, and he doesn't even remember doing it. So it says a lot about the amount of effort. He was just given like a prompt and he just drew that. I think that's kind of like the standard of that time, right? Where it'd be like weird box arts that don't really represent the game, kind of like Mega Man.
Yeah, it's a nice cover though, but it's not really fitting for the content. Well, okay, maybe for the last two dungeons it is.
Yeah.
Now I'm just thinking about that creepy adult Mega Man cover. Do you remember that one?
There's like 3, so and then for the
fat guy.
Oh yeah, why did they give him some of it a bloated belly? It's so weird.
They put him in a fighting game too. I think
they did Tekken.
Street Fighter Cross Tekken. People were like, "We want Mega Man," because he was in Marvel too, which is like a really popular game. Like, we want Mega Man back, and then Capcom was like, "Oh, you want Mega Man? All right, here you go, motherfuckers."
It's really genius.
Yeah, we'll post a picture of that for anyone who wants to see what we're talking about, because it's the funniest thing. And it's the best example of what you're talking about, the trend of box art that's hilariously inappropriate for the subject matter.
Yeah, I mean, that being said, I love that box art. It's actually my favorite Megaten box art.
It looks like an action film.
It just looks so like, it looks so macho, like overly 90s, like cheesy macho, that I just love it. It's just so dumb. Because then if you look at like the Kaneko box arts, they're always majestic. It's like the angels cradling Aleph, or like Gale majestically holding his like forearm up, or extreme close up of Demi-Fiend's face. And then you have this where it's like these, you know how Ripper, Frost, and Pyro are, but then you just see like these super. It's like it's not just Ripper, it's Ripper. You know,
skeleton.
Ripper.
Skeleton.
No. Stop. It's not even. They don't even spell skeleton right. They put skeleton, like skeleton.
I kind of like that. I don't know if that's intentional. Like the localization is just fucked up or whatever, or
Did
just
they
like
run out of what do you call it? The character limit or something?
That's also something I was going to ask when you're talking about hiragana. Is that a thing where like it's like, you know, limited amount of memory, so they have to use simpler characters and stuff?
Sometimes, yeah. I don't know if it is with this game because some of the names are longer. No, I don't think there's one longer than 8 or 7.
That's the magic number, 8.
Yeah, it's either 7 or 8.
But thing. I could talk about that box set all day, but that localization and then the weird changes. So all the demons have very specific names because they're basically all demons from Megaten. But for whatever reason, they just, I guess for character limits, and so that would explain some of them, but the changes are just random. So there's one that I thought stands out, Lich. It goes from being called Lich to Mystic Morgan, which is actually a longer name. And I'm just like, what's so
that is
bad
a
about
very
Lich?
bizarre one.
Like Mystic Morgan? Like who's Morgan and why?
And what is it? Shinigami or no? Death God Loa to Sinister Scar.
When Pixie was like, "This is Sinister Scar," like be careful. I was like, no.
His new members of the Legion of Doom or something.
The worst one, the absolute worst one, is Tomcat from Nekomata.
First of all, I was just like, why Tomcat? Neko. Do they just think that people wouldn't know what a Nekomata is? And like,
Yeah.
Maybe they thought a kitty succubus wasn't appropriate.
when is it not inappropriate?
But the thing about that too is that a tomcat is male.
Yes.
And they specifically say she in there, so I'm like, they didn't really think this through, did they?
No. There's other ones that are funny, but some of them I'm just like, okay, I get it. Like Itzanma, or I don't know how to say that, becomes Skelipede, and I'm like, Skelipede, it's the skeleton with a bunch of legs, like a centipede. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Right.
I forgot what Chu Chulane turns into. I think it's Furin.
Yeah, it's Furin or something.
I don't know what that means.
I didn't even know it was supposed to be him. I just one of you pointed that out afterwards. I was like, okay.
It's just how his name is said in katakana.
Really? It's said Furin?
Furin, yeah.
Because when I didn't know what it meant or the context, so I Googled it, and furin is like a protein. Furin is a protein that in humans is encoded by the furin gene. Some proteins are inactive when they first become sensitive. Yep. Yeah, basically. I guess it fits Choo Choo Lane.
I wonder if that's
they just knock off the coup for whatever reason.
I wonder if that's related to Fujin. Because now that I think about it, isn't Fujin a Mortal Kombat character, but also a real Japanese word for a god? Because like Raiden is he's like a lightning god, and I think Fujin is like a wind god. So maybe there's a connection.
Yeah,
there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's perfectly something that you could be right about. But also, I hope you're wrong.
One I thought was clever was changing the Paradise one. The little blocks that would knock together and kill you.
Uh-huh.
Those are called Paradise. In the English version, it was like parallel and dice, cut in half.
Oh.
But in the Japanese version, it was called Hasendaga, which is a volcano in Turkey, apparently.
These silly Japanese people.
So that one was a nice change. I really like that one.
And you were saying that there was some more story to, because the thing that I was saying, the description of the story was just what they say in the first, like the intro to the game. But you're saying that there's more to it?
It's worded differently because they cut out some stuff. It's like the first line, it says the one day of the year when fairies can enter the world, right? But in the Japanese version, it says something like fairies that come to town travel the long passage to the human world. Which later on, it says, Pixie says, I'll help you. And what did she say? She says, you're hopeless, Jack, but I'll show you the way home. It's a bit dangerous. But if you read in Japanese, it says more like, it can't be helped. I'll tell you a slight shortcut. It's a bit dangerous, but I'll go with you. So don't worry. It implies that, he's not going back the way he came. That's why they're going down a different path and all that.
That does make more sense.
Yeah, because it doesn't make sense why you're going down this dangerous path and later on. if you're just reading the English version.
Yeah. So of the four of us, was it who beat the game?
I did. You're just doing this to flex on Glib.
I don't beat games. You know this.
See, well, Spider gets a pass because I'm sure that Spider could beat it, but Glib, you don't get a pass. This is why this is your final episode, actually.
Wow.
So
is it every episode now?
No, this is the real final. That's why I wanted you to host. So then, when you leave, at least you went out with a bang.
Wow.
Yeah, I was playing it twice, so there's that. At the same time in 2 different languages.
See, yeah, and I'm like, she gets a pass. She's doing us a justice by being able to give us information I wouldn't have known otherwise, because all I did was look at the guidebooks for both games, or for both versions, or not guidebooks, the info booklet. I beat it twice because I love this game. Funny aside is that I had some of my friends play this game too, just because I always try to get people to play Jack Bros, and they all said they hated the game because it was just boring. That's the word they use, boring, which is the best way to physically and emotionally assault me is to call Jack Bros boring.
It's not boring, but it is very difficult, and it does get frustrating having to do the same thing over and over in Crystal Palace.
Yeah. The final dungeon does feel long because I think it's almost a third of the game, isn't it? Isn't it
it's
almost
way
20
more?
floors?
Yeah, it is 20 floors.
I was playing. I got halfway through, and I was like, "What the fuck is going on?"
I think it might be more actually. It's so dumb because you keep thinking
it's only 60 floors and
yeah,
there's almost 20 in there, so that's way too much of the game in one dungeon.
And it's so funny because it's such a steep spike from 5 floors in the dungeon to 20. And it doesn't sound like that much, but then when you think about how much dodging, how much how many little things that you have to go around in order to beat each part of the floor.
Start from the beginning. If you got a game over, you would go to the beginning.
Yep.
You'd have to you have to use your code. Well, to continue, I guess would put you at the beginning, but if you use your code, also just put you there too.
And I mean, and I will say that that's another part I love about the game is the continue screen, because it's just so sad. You don't want anyone to experience what Jack or Pixie experience, because they just look so sad. Especially Pixie, her eyes get ridiculously big and watery, and I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I'll never let you die again, even though you're overpowered.
What is unlimited? Is it unlimited? I don't know if I ever got to the point where I needed to restart a lot. But is it unlimited lot or continues or whatever?
I don't even know, because I only ever restart basically at the last dungeon. It's the only time where that happens.
Yeah,
and it's usually because of the final boss. Beelzebub is ridiculous, and it's so annoying because the first form is already pretty tough. I would say. And then he has a second form that is especially difficult if you're using Ripper, which is probably why I couldn't find any Ripper footage. When I was oh, let me just look up what's the difference, because I didn't capture any of my footage.
I didn't think it was that horrible. It's a long fight. It's a very long fight.
Yeah.
You have to move a good amount because those spike things show up and they try to pinch you. But I honestly, you can kind of stand in almost the same spot.
Paradise.
Just keep an eye on the... yeah, sure, whatever. Keep an eye on the spike things. And, he has a very simple shooting pattern. He shoots 2 different patterns of bullets. He shoots, the bugs, which I think you can kill.
You can, yeah.
And then he shoots regular bullets that you have to, bullet hell through and dodge around them. But they're pretty slow, and he doesn't, try to run into you or anything crazy, so...
I mean,
that bad. It's also it's a long fight, and it's followed up by a very long 20 fucking floors of continuous gameplay. So that's probably why people don't like that boss fight.
I mean, it's just dumb because I think that for any other character you use, it's easier, but specifically that boss and the vampire are pretty much the only ones that go out of their way to be like, if you're Jack Ripper, then it's like hard. And there's a hard mode for this game too, but the hard mode is not fun like every other hard mode for every game ever. But
what does it do? Does it just make time lower all the time, or
you get more damage, and you have to hit more. So it's like the most dumb. Yeah,
just inflates over itself.
Yeah, it's dumb. And if you guys are interested in playing this game, it's $500 for a used copy of.
Is it really that much?
I've seen. Well, I mean, I've seen $300 for a loose one, yeah, without the box. But if you wanted the box, it's like $500 to $600, depending if it's in good condition. The one I have has a Blockbuster sticker on it, and I wanted to take it off, but I was also like, this is kind of cool because it's Blockbuster. So
what a hipster.
don't do this, Glib. But I definitely would say that this is one of the more fun games we played, because I feel like what we do,
it's your favorite fucking game.
But like, compare this to Makken, and I'm like, I like Makken, but for completely different reasons. Or if you compare this to like If, I'm like, okay, hands down, there's no reason I should ever play If again.
Yeah,
I like this more than If.
It's not very fair.
I like If more.
What?
Whoa.
Now who's the hipster, huh?
Just saying, bro. That had something good at least. When I was playing If, I was just chilling, bro. Except for like Sloth, and I was just boring. I was still chilling, I guess. But this game,
I think it's because
it was still nice, but it's.
And it actively hurt my eyes to play this game.
Okay, yeah, I'll give you that. It's kind of hard to see. I had to put my glasses on.
I will say that, that even with it being flat, it's still not the easiest game to look at because, it's just ugly. Like, it's one of those games where they did go for simplicity, but it is still very ugly. Except the models for the characters I think they're adorable.
If this gave me cancer, who do I sue?
Yourself for not knowing how to turn off the stereoscopic 3D. Dumb.
What a noob.
Okay, we also did another game that's just like this game. It's exactly the same game, actually. It's called Synchronicity Prologue. It's made by Team Ladybug or Ladybug Team, and it is the prologue to Strange Journey Redux. Who wants to talk about this game? Glib, did you beat it?
I don't beat games. I think
Games beat him.
No wonder why. Okay.
It's a cool game, though. Should I explain the whole game, or I'm just talking about my?
Yeah. Run through it.
Basically, you're playing as the game starts off, and it's like a computer. It's like a computer monitor, and you get a message, and you remember in the beginning of SMT1, and you get the email from Steven, and basically you synchronize, and you go into the body of a Jack Frost, and he has amnesia because I guess it's you, and then you meet up with a Pyro Jack later. And then you go around trying to fight a Black Frost who beat up the Pyro Jack. That's basically the story.
Kind of, yeah.
Forgot about the researcher.
Oh, yeah. There's a researcher also.
Yeah. Which, he's weird because he's like not anything. Like he's not a demon.
I did not like him. He reminded me a lot of Cave Story, I think. Cave Story. He reminded me a lot of that.
I never played it.
He's the same as Jack. He's like being controlled by a human, the little body.
Yeah, but he's not a. But he took over like a. So then the part that confuses me about that character is that whereas Jack is like a demon, and the guy took over the Jack Frost, and Pyro Jack is the same, if I recall correctly. But what demon is? What's his name? N or J? J is nothing. He's a capybara. So, and what part of the Antarctic does a capybaras naturally exist, or what demon is just a capybara? There's none. So,
Team Ladybug, nice plot hole. You have.
Yeah,
they're like, I like the design, so I'm just going to use this here.
Yeah, which I mean, I like the design too. I'm not gonna lie. It's just it's kind of like, to me, it's cute when he's like flopping around because he's also tubby. But it does make me go like, why? Like, they could have picked just a floppy demon. I mean, I can't think of one right now though, but Surely.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe there's some reason they have for using that. Maybe they wanted to come up with their own thing, or I don't know.
Yeah, their only statement on it is just that he's a capybara. That's the only reason I know. It's because on their Twitter they're just like this is a new character. His name is Jay. He's a capybara. I'm like, cool. Thanks for the deep lore. So this game's like a Metroidvania game, which I thought was cool because I like these. That's like the kind of game that I feel it's pretty safe to say that most of those are fun, regardless if they're good or bad, like pizza. Or am I wrong?
A lot of the bosses were pretty fun.
Yeah.
Gary,
I enjoyed it,
who was it? Gary McCullough. He was an interesting first. Was he second, third?
He's like second because
Yeah.
first one is the dreadlocks guy.
Yeah, you fight B. Franz.
Yeah.
I find it interesting. He's in the icy area instead of over by the red light district.
Yeah, what the heck? And that part was like, I mean, I guess because they just wanted. I don't even know what the purpose of that is. Like, it felt out of place. It felt like he was supposed to be in that other one, but the fight worked better there or something.
I guess so. I just thought that was kind of strange.
Yeah, I liked how the game scales well. Like the difficulty is not like Jack Bros. I feel like it ramps up in a very consistent way. So I mean, even though the game is super easy, it doesn't ever feel like it just suddenly gets hard, except like the boss fight, the final boss.
You could always make it a little bit more difficult too with the settings.
Yes. Yeah, I think it's all pretty well laid out. It's like a cute little Metroidvania with like weird bullet hell elements that actually work really well because you're switching between the two jacks that have weaknesses to red and blue, which is ice and fire.
Yeah.
So if you can like with every game, it's pattern recognition with the boss. The boss has an attack pattern. You have to do something about it, but it introduces that weird bullet hell element of switching characters to make sure you like don't touch the wrong colored dot because it's pretty much impossible to platform past some of the attack patterns without switching. So it's cool that it starts to force you to do that rather than try to jump past or get under attacks.
You have to in the last boss battle. There is
against Black Frost Form 2, yeah. And I think Alice too. I think with Alice you have to.
Yeah, Alice is gross. But I think the Black Frost fight was really fun because that's the one where I had to like pay attention the most. Most of the time I was just kind of like I would just charge my ice or charge my fire move and just keep doing it and then switch and then when appropriate. But this one I felt like I was way more invested.
Yes, you have to be much more mobile, and his first form is very like he's like all over the place. And what's funny is he looks like the way he moves and does stuff. He looks like Akuma, like from Street Fighter. He does like because he does like demon flip, and then he throws an air fireball. And I was like, "Is this a reference?"
Yeah, I feel like that's intentional.
Wow, that demon flip thing he does is like that looks exactly like it. And he does air fire. Sometimes it's ice, but it's the idea is like the diagonal thing. And I was like, this is really cool. The second form was like, it's cool that he's big, but it's kind of lame. I wish he was sort of a more souped up version where he's running around everywhere. Because watching that animation play out was cool. I love that part.
I feel like the reason why they made him big was just to reference like his original art where he's way
because he's supposed to be huge.
Yeah. And for some reason,
understood it. I was like, oh, this sucks. I was just like, I wish he was more like the first form.
Yeah, no, I get that. It just when I just compare it to like Devil Survivor, where for some reason he's normal size, and I'm just like, no, he's supposed to be big. Like he's supposed to be able to crush everybody under his foot, and yet
I never really noticed that until I think in Strange Journey they show it. Because they show the scale of all the characters in Redux. I don't know if they do in the original, but in Redux they do.
No, yeah, that's just the Redux thing.
Yeah. And like there's like the main character and he looks like a manlet. Because Black Frost is like 4 he's tall and he's like stomping on Jack Frost.
But that's what makes it great, because then you imagine just imagine Tadano like walking up and being like, hey, you want to join me? But like he's huge and massive and he's crushing some Jack Frost in his hand. He's like, okay, I'll join you. I don't know. Big people have deep voices is the thing.
What a peanut.
No more rhyming, and I mean it. Yeah, I think one of the other parts this game does well is the part where there's just like little hidden secret things everywhere. You get rings and stuff to power up, and there's an item shop as well. And I think that it's cool because it actually really helps with the game. It makes it even easier, but also there's a little bit of an incentive because you just want to be slightly stronger. At least that's how I felt.
Yeah.
And finding the puzzles are the secrets things are always rewarding. So I just would ram my Jack Frost into random walls and shoot everything. So I mean, I feel bad because that Jack Frost was suffering, but it was rewarding. And then when you get the Demonica, or when you get Demoniho, it's like very satisfying. That's the most fun part of the game, is once you have Demoniho for that first, like, once you get him and you're just jumping around, laser blasting everything.
Yeah, I thought that was cool. He had a little bit more not mobility, but just like options, sort of. Because when you're jumping, you could do like slow fall more, because you can shoot while you're jumping, and I think you can shoot ice when you're jumping. I don't think it affects your trajectory nearly as much. I think it's a much more dramatic effect with the gun, which is cool.
It's just so satisfying. I once I did that, I was like pretty much set on using him as much as possible. And I love how the weaknesses work in this game. So like, I would just weaken someone and then kill him with Jack or with Demon.
Yeah. That's another cool idea from like a Metroidvania perspective, because in like those kinds of games, bullet hell isn't usually part of it. It's usually like there are boss patterns and stuff, but there aren't things that you're immune to or weak to or whatever. You usually just take damage from anything that's a bad guy. But they play with that idea in the reverse too, because it's like you also can't damage the boss with certain things.
Yeah.
Even if you're really smart about how you attack, they're literally immune to ice or fire or whatever.
And they show that off early in the game too, so you know.
Yeah. They make a big deal of imprinting that on your mind, so you don't say, "Oh, I didn't know that," halfway through.
The best part about the Demon Neho suit is when you jump, it makes a squeaky sound.
You know what got me is when you just idle and the mask comes up and you just see him smiling and then it comes back down.
Oh, yeah,
the animations,
I do like the animation. The steam or whatever comes out of him and goes and like flies up.
Yeah, this game is real good. I love it.
That was really funny. I like that little touch.
There's a lot of. I mean, I feel like this game had a lot of love put into it, despite how short it is. They even were gonna have Ripper. I don't know if you guys saw that, but they posted that on their Twitter too. That they were going to include Ripper as a third playable, but they couldn't because of time, I think.
Yeah, it would adding a whole third character, because the whole dynamic is based on the switching between ice and fire. Adding a third guy would be like, how do you do that? Because the button pressed to change. So like, do you cycle free?
That was released for free.
Sure, yeah. So like, adding a third person would be like changing everything about the game. It would have been really cool to see. Adding that in later on, it's like, no.
I even like went through and I was like trying to see if he just like appears like in like a secret area or something, because they finished the animation. His idle animation is like him kind of like out of I don't know why I'm like literally moving right now, so I don't know why I did that, but him kind of just like crouching with his like his straight razor redder, and he does like a little flip with it, and it's really like well done and everything. Like I think all the animations is pretty great.
Yes.
So I just figured that they might just have him like somewhere like visible if you can find him or something. I mean, maybe he is, but I couldn't find it, so I was like really sad because Ripper is like the best one of the bros.
Yeah, it's cool to see him in more stuff. We'll maybe mention a new appearance by him later. Did we talk about that before? He's in V2, or did we just talk about that?
Wow, okay, way to spoil future content.
Future content in 10 minutes.
But I think we did talk about it, but it doesn't even matter because we're going to talk about it again.
Yeah, it is. Anyway, the point is it's cool to see, because he was not he was like a core sort of Jack for a while, a long time ago, and then he just sort of got abandoned. He wasn't like, he's just sort of like a low tier demon a lot of the times, and never or noticed ever. But it's funny to have a third guy in that dynamic.
And this one, Synchronicity Prologue, is like just kind of considered like the second Jack Bros game, which bothers me for like two reasons, and I'll tell you why. So the first reason it really, really bothers me is because there's already a Jack Bros sequel. It just never came out in America. It's called Jack's Quest Demonic Help Party. And it's so annoying that people keep saying that Synchronicity Prologue is Jack Bros 2 because there's already a 2. Sorry, I'm going to keep doing that voice. It's like my thing now.
You don't need to.
Why not, Nib?
Please.
Is that the mobile game?
Yeah, it was a mobile game, and I can't even find footage of it. Like so Atlas
When
had
did this come out?
I don't even know. I think it was like early 2000s because Atlas went through a bunch of different iterations of like a mobile services. This one was like one from the first era, I believe. So in this one, you play as Jack. Like all three of them are playable, but they changed their movesets. So instead of using a knife, Ripper uses like wind skills, and then it's like ice, fire, and wind. And it's like a mystery dungeon type game instead of a anything like the other two games. But I can't find any footage. All I found was like a very like brief description, which is why I don't even know any more about it. But that's the second Jack Bros game. And the other reason why I don't like it being called Jack Bros 2 is because Ripper's not in it. So it's not Jack Bros if Ripper's not in it.
It was almost there, though.
Almost, yeah. But so then I guess the technical name would be almost Jack Bros 3.
Jack Bros 2.5 because it's technically not really Jack Bros.
I hope they make another one, though, kind of like this.
Yeah.
Because I would really like that.
Yeah,
it's funny. Yeah, sorry.
Get those guys and just pay them a bunch of money to make like a real version of this game. Maybe not version, but iteration of this base concept.
Yeah, because this is one of the most fun megaten games. It's ridiculous how fun and well crafted it is for how simple and short it is. So imagining this, but a 20-hour experience, or even like 30. I don't know how long these types of games usually are.
They can get pretty long. I don't know about 40, but yeah, in the double digits for sure.
Yeah, if it just breaks like 15 hours, like that's like I would pay $40 for this. I actually would pay for this now, in its 5-hour state.
Kind of loadouts where you have, you can maybe change the resistances and stuff to set up your demons to fight in a certain way. You keep the pair system to switch between pairs, but they have different abilities and resistances and stuff.
And then they could reintroduce Drug Ripper as the Wind Demon. And bam, then it's actually Jack Bros 3.
Just call it Jack Bros 3.
In there too.
What happened?
You put Pixie in there too.
Oh yeah, wait, I didn't. Was there? Oh, there's pixies in there, but
there are pixies you fight. Yeah,
I was like really mad actually. I was like, why am I killing these? They're not even saying anything. Like they're supposed to be helpful because they're part of the same race as like Jack. So it was really like it hurt my feelings.
They're like, why don't I not be a main character?
Why don't they get dialogue? Come on.
Have like Pyro and Jack in one setting, and then have Pixie and Ripper in the other.
That would be cool. So then you could choose between like that roster versus the other one, and then that way it'd be a little more balanced because I think switching between 3 is like a bit much.
Yeah, I think switching between 2 you have to keep that, but having a system where you could switch out which of those 2 you're using, or like select, pull out Frost and put in Ripper or whatever, something like that. It'd be really neat.
Yep, I think we should develop or have at least a supervisory role to ensure the quality. Since I think at this point we might be the experts. Sans Glib.
Wow.
Not Sans Undertale, but like Sans is in like.
Yeah, I was gonna try to make a joke about that, but I didn't want to.
I'm glad you didn't.
Thank you.
But I think this was like probably the most fun spoiler cast so far until we start playing like Glass Bible or Majin Tensei or something. Because
I mean, we didn't start on a good note. We started with the worst game in the world. And then we
Superman
went to a
64?
game that's no. And then we went to a game that was fun and interesting, but kind of bad. I liked it a lot. I liked Makken a lot, but it was very strange, and I wouldn't recommend it in good conscience to like normal people. But if you're like a weirdo like us and you're like interested in the history, then it's like absolutely give it a shot.
Would you say that it was a strange journey to play Makken?
No, I'm also going to kill you.
It was more like Soul Hackers.
Yeah,
Actually
actually.
Soul
Speaking of recommendations, what would you guys recommend for these two games?
I would recommend Synchronicity, but I would not recommend Jack Bros.
Okay, you're stupid.
It depends on if you like platformers or whatever Jack Bros is, then yeah, you'll probably like these kind of games, but they're pretty short and simple. I mean, Jack Bros is difficult, especially Crystal Palace, but it's still fun in its own right.
Yeah.
It's very simple though, so if you're looking for a story like the other megaten games, you're not going to find it here.
Yes, yeah, there's almost nothing in the way of characterization because they're such simple, straightforward games. But
It's
the
very
advantage
cute.
there is, yeah, they're cute, they're short, they're bite-sized games that you can get into and be done pretty quick, which is why I'd recommend both of them for pretty much anyone. Maybe the modern Zoomer gamer may not like Jack Bros' sort of weird pacing and waiting around sometimes, and your health is tied to a timer, which is bizarre and probably the most archaic thing we've encountered in any of our games so far that we've played. But anyway, yeah, they're both definitely worth checking out, at least very easy to set up, to download, get your hands on, and mess around with. Be done with both of them in an afternoon.
Yeah, I literally beat. Well, no, actually, I took 2 days. I beat Synchronicity Prologue yesterday, and that took. My count was 4 hours and 37, like not 4 hours. Yeah, 4 hours and 37 minutes or something.
Sure.
And then for Jack Bros, like even though I keep saying an hour, it did take me like an hour and 15 minutes. So for the playthrough that was Ripper, the playthrough that was Pixie, it was like 57 minutes or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think I'd recommend them to anybody, mostly because to me, dumb, repetitious, simple games are like fun, and that's why I like these two particular games, because they're, well, especially Jack Bros, because it's super simple. It just has a dumb difficulty scaling, and I think that if you play it as much as I do, then it's like it becomes like a palate cleanser, which is what I like to use it for. If I play big games, I want to like just play something to break it up. I'll play this. I use Hollow Knight too, is another one that I use for a palate cleanser.
That's a great game.
I forgot
If
to
you like
mention
Hollow
earlier.
Knight, play Synchronicity.
Yeah.
What were we going to mention? Let's go to Glib first. Hold on.
I forgot to mention earlier, if you're gonna play this, just use a controller, because today, or for a few days, I've had someone working at my house doing some labor and stuff, so I couldn't use my desktop. So I'd use my my laptop, and I had no access to my room, so I had to use my laptop controls, and it was absolutely terrible. I mean, the game itself was good, so it was fine, but the controller just bad to play with, and it wasn't very comfortable at all. So use a controller.
Yeah. And
I would
both
say
the
that
games
too,
are
for both of them.
Yeah. Both of them are in English, which is good. I think I'll put the links to them because the Synchronicity Prologue is not officially in English, but there's a pretty good patch. I think that it's missing some things, but it's because of, well, I mean, it's a free short game, and I don't think the motivation to translate the rest of it is not very high because this one works.
Or you need coding experience to do it too.
Oh yeah, that too. So I mean, if you saw the intro that should have been the intro for this, then you'll be like, wow, how they do all that coding. No, it was just the script that Spider pointed out, and I just edited it.
You could have billed all those hours for that work. I spent 20 hours on that intro.
Yeah, but I like to be realistic and honest, because sometimes I'm more law than anything else, especially when I have two of the angels, the archangels from DX2.
Which we'll get to soon.
Why
I
do you
got
do this to
Gabby
me?
and Yuri. Just saying.
I guess, yeah, to wrap it up, both Jack Bros for the Virtual Boy and Synchronicity for the home computer are very fun and interesting, and everyone out there should give them a shot because they're better than RPGs.
I think we should come up with a grading scale for like our future like things. So we'll be like, oh, this is like 4 he-hos out of 10 or something.
Yeah,
That's
we'd
so
have to come up
corny.
with criteria on how to do that. We'll figure. Whatever it is, doesn't matter because if is going to be a 0 or maybe a 1.
I could give it a 1. I like the art sometimes.
Cool.
I'd give it like a 2 because there's other things that non-megaten I'd put under a 1 or 0.
Yeah.
Well, it does
That's
have
true.
Holy Ghost, so I guess I'd have to give it
Ooh.
a point.
But yeah, let's get into the news.
Yeah.
That's the news transition.
Yeah, something like that. That's what that is.
So I guess the first big news thing is TMS, everyone's favorite SMT game, is going to be released in all regions using the original Western censored version. The word censored, I guess, comes with a lot of negative connotations, and in regards to this, it's debatable on how much it affects the game. It's interesting because the way this happened, I mean, were you guys all had your like fingers on the pulse of TMS news, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely owned a Wii U ever, for sure. I was one of the 15 people in the world.
Hey, I mean, it did pretty okay in Japan, but like apparently this like apology that Nintendo actually issued following Japanese fan sentiment, like, or upsetness, like it triggered a lot of like discussion because the Western fans in general, I would say, have like this weird hate boner for censorship, and regardless of how much or how little it impacts the story, people get mad. And in this regard, people like are super mad about Tokyo Mirage Sessions. What are your guys' thoughts on that whole censorship thing?
I don't really care. I'm still gonna buy it.
I don't like it, but in most cases where I don't care about it because of the costumes and all that, it doesn't bother me. The only thing that bothers me is that one dungeon. The story's changed. I mean, it still works for the game. It still gets the same idea across, but it kind of just skirting around an issue that it doesn't want to talk about.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like in the middle where it's like, on the one hand, most of the people who care about censorship stuff a lot are just like degenerate perverts, right? They're like, I want to see my titties, bigger titties, Yoshi tits, stuff like that. And they're just like, okay, like who cares? But then some of them make really good points. It's like, I don't know if you've seen some of like the Fire Emblem translations.
Oh,
It's like, oh my god, like someone wrote this? Why would you do that? So yeah, it's sort of like a kind of case by case thing for me. In this case, it's like it doesn't seem like a huge deal, but it's perfectly reasonable for someone to be like, this sucks and I don't like it. If you like throw a huge hissy fit, maybe that's a little too much, but yeah, just vote with your wallet. Be like, look, I don't appreciate what you're doing, and if you think it's that big of a deal, you're absolutely allowed to not buy it and try to get other people to not buy it. Go for it.
the thing is, though, they did vote with their wallet not getting a sequel.
No.
It did so poorly in Japan. It did better in the West than it did Japan. And that was supposed to be the main audience.
It's sad. It's just sad because the thing that bothers me, yes, is this TMS port was probably like a way to test if there is a market for the sequel, and now it's just marred by this stigma of censorship. So even if they do it, then it's gonna be like people are just gonna immediately ask where, like, what's censored, what's changed, because if they do it again, they're gonna just make probably a unilateral release or whatever you want to call it when they release it in all regions at once, and that could be good or bad. I think that, like, kind of like what Neb was saying, it's case by case. For me, I just hate Nintendo, so I love complaining, and any time Nintendo does anything wrong, I'm just like ready to attack them.
Respect. Don't understand it, but respect.
So it's satisfying to see that Nintendo also, that's one of the things I want to clarify. People keep accusing Atlas of this censorship. You're stupid. It's not Atlas. It's Nintendo. Nintendo is the one that's censoring it because this is not considered a third-party release. Apparently, Nintendo typically only targets first-party releases for censorship, and this is kind of like a weird in-between, and it's more of a first-party release in that regard. So that's why that's getting all sensory.
Fire Emblem is a first-party property for them as of a few years ago.
Oh, is that why they got rid of the petting in Fire Emblem Fates?
No, I think they just did that because controversy.
Nintendo Treehouse make themselves very clear that they're out of touch. It's kind of crazy.
They're clown emoji. One of the things that was an interesting result of this whole thing is the Wii U Wii U version boosted in sales and became the top rated or top selling Wii U game for a couple days on Amazon. So it actually outsold basically nothing else because there's nothing on the Wii. But it was cool to see that people got so angry that they decided to buy this older version of the game that also is it has all these pitfalls because it sucks that you can't skip through sessions and all the other jazz that surrounds that. But that was a funny little thing that I read was Amazon listed Tokyo Mirage Sessions as the top selling Wii U game for a couple days.
Yeah, and then it got beat by the F-Zero clone.
Yeah. Speaking of sales, Sega published their sales data for the quarter or for the year? I think it was the annual report. It showed some interesting data for the layman. In 2018, Megami Tensei series sold approximately 12.4 million units versus the Persona series, which is separated out for some reason, which only sold a measly 9.3 million. And if you fast forward to this year, Megami Tensei sold 17.4 million units, and Persona is barely squeaking by with 10.2. And to put that into context, between the 2 years, there was 3 Persona releases. And there was 0 megaten releases.
Yeah, so what does this mean with total editions? Is that all the different titles that could be counted towards this total?
Golden.
Sorry, go ahead.
It's Golden and all that.
Right. So those are all the separate titles. So there's 30 separate megaten titles that they're selling and 16 Persona ones. Is that what I'm saying?
Yeah, and they do it super dumb because they don't just they inflate the numbers in that regard. So they're 30 megaten game. What they're counting is not just how many. I mean, not just really what exists, but what exists for purchase. So it's tracking that, and so that's why there's 16 Persona titles.
That's interesting. So what are people buying? Are people just buying Apocalypse over and over again? What's happening?
My theory is because the units of sales is not really measured by buying a physical copy of a game. It's any purchase. So it could be buying DLC. It could be buying gems. It could be buying. It could be spending money in the dumb Pachi slot because apparently that's part of it. It's anything, and there is megaten Pachi slots. There's more Persona ones than SMT ones, but regardless, the only thing that's really changed for megaten, if you look, there's no new releases. That's why it says 30 of 30 for both 2018, 2019.
Yeah,
the only thing that changed is DX2.
That's a good point. I didn't consider that microtransactions would count as sales.
Even before D2, they were pretty close.
Yeah, but now they're the disparity it went from 3 million difference to 7 million difference, and
that's true.
And it's crazy because if they're really just charting any transactions, which is super stupid because then that just inflates the numbers to anything. It makes it not make sense at all.
Yeah, I don't like that.
I mean, but also this isn't for this isn't for us to read. It's for like future investors.
Yeah, it's for stock people.
Still, though.
Yeah, it's dumb, but it's cool. It's cool to know that people are playing or buying things on DX2 than they are buying like anything for Persona 5 or Persona anything. So it's I guess it speaks to the success of DX2 or D2. I keep calling it DX2. It's D2.
I'm always gonna call it DX2.
Well, you stupid
DX2 gang.
No.
Hunter.
I like the correction they made on here finally. Before it was Shin Megami Tensei series, now it's Megami Tensei. It's actually correct. Thank you, Sega.
It's super. That annoyed me because it's like Atlas always called it the Megami Tensei series, and only dumb people called it Shin Megami Tensei series. So that is a nice clarification. I'm glad they did that. I think it's also interesting that the art they use to show the Megami Tensei series is SMT4's logo, when that's not even the last game.
And the other report had Apocalypse as their package example. It's like, you're not going to use Redux? You're going to use Apocalypse?
No one knows. I think one of the other bits that was kind of interesting is I think the most successful IP for Sega right now is what? Total War? Is that accurate? If that's the case, that's
a new
interesting.
acquire?
I feel like Total War has been theirs for like a couple years now, right?
Yeah, Sega owns Total War, which includes I don't know what the most recent one. I guess they did the Warhammer ones. They've been doing these weird crossover ones recently. So I guess it's that, and
no, the last one is Three Kingdoms that came out this year.
Right, there's that one. Yeah, that's the most recent one.
And they have one next year, I think.
Yeah, they're always pumping those things out.
They mentioned that and the Sonic at the Olympics one for next year was their big 2 releases.
Which are the Olympics games actually successful or what?
Olympics generates a lot of money, yeah.
They like their
very unusual. Oh, actually, I was wrong. The most successful IP is Sonic with 920 million units, which is the most misleading because there's so many. They don't even have a total editions number because they're definitely aggregating like anything Sonic related to inflate that.
Every plushie that gets sold.
Yeah. And then if you look at like some of their like dead IPs, like Beast King, it's like 500,000 units. Like, all right, or Aladdin series. Like, why is that even on here?
No, people aren't buying Sega Genesis Aladdin.
Didn't they just re-release Aladdin though, or is that not out yet?
Either way, it's not. They're still at 570.
I don't think they had anything to do with the new Disney film. If that's what you're saying.
No, I mean, I think they released the old game for the movie.
Is Will Smith in it?
I don't think so. I think it's the old game, the original one.
Oh,
So it's like a remaster? That might be interesting.
I think so, or a port or something. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pretty sure I saw that.
Maybe that is real.
To kind of put other things into perspective, like Puyo Puyo is still like outselling all them, like any of the Atlas properties.
Yeah.
But then it's good series. Yeah, my favorite is Mean Bean Machine. But yes,
it's a good one. But that's also how do they classify that game? Is that Sonic or is that Puyo?
It's probably both. Sonic, Puyo. They probably count both. And then like Yakuza is like just slightly beating Persona in sales. So even though Yakuza like objectively is a much superior game with apparently 101 editions released. What are they counting?
Wait, what?
Oh, I bet they have lots of like slot machines and shit for that are branded, right? Does that count?
Oh yeah, you're right.
That seems like the coolest property they can make a slot machine out of. Like everything else on this list seems dumb.
I'm so bad from last podcast. I'm not gonna lie.
You're what?
I'm so bad from last podcast. I'm not gonna lie, man.
Sorry, I cannot understand your thick accent. What are you saying?
I'm still mad from last podcast, my guy.
Oh,
For what?
I dissed Yakuza, I think.
Oh,
Stole my thunder.
It's a great series. It's very fun. Yakuza 0. Go buy it now.
Yeah, one of the people that I know is like kind of collecting all the Yakuza games, and I didn't know there's just so many interesting. There's a Dead Souls, which I guess is what, like zombies or something.
Oh,
that sounds awesome.
That sounds interesting. I the name does sound familiar, but I don't know if that's what that was. All right. Well, yeah, that's with sales data. We'll post a link for that too in the description if you're interested in poring over this and maybe investing in Sega.
Yeah, I own like 10 shares of Sega, and Sega stock has went up 3.4%, which is like sounds like a little bit, and it is a little bit because it went from like being like worth like $3.20 to being $3.60, but definitely worth buying because then the more you're invested in Sega, the more you can tell them what to do. And my thing is I want to get like 51% shares eventually, and then be like, Sega.
Every dollar you donate will help us do a hostile takeover of Sega and force them to make S&T 5, which they will not make unless we do this.
Oh, I was gonna have them make. Jack Bros 3, but that's fine.
Cancel S&T 5, make a Jack Bros.
Yes.
All right, now we're talking.
But yeah, sales data, that's cool. It's nice. It's fun to do. Another big thing that happened was Persona 5 Scramble's trailer dropped, and that also dropped the release date, which is one of those absurd, all the numbers are the same. So it's the second month, 20th day, 20 year, whatever. So it's 2/20/2020. So they thought
it's not going to be that cool for us Americans because that's the Japanese release date. So
it's going to be like
July
3rd,
13th or whatever dumb shit.
Every game next year is going to release on 2020. Just every month.
Yeah, pretty much. Right. The one that releases on 4/20/20 is the best one, though. That's going to be good.
Hell yeah.
Isn't there like 5 games releasing on that?
Wow, I can't even say fight for supremacy. That's what you got to do. Scramble. When I saw the trailer, I was pleasantly surprised because while I'm just interested vaguely in Musou games, this one doesn't look like a Musou game, and even Atlas themselves are calling it an action RPG as opposed to calling it a Musou game, and that's interesting.
I think that was just the easy comparison because the very first like tease thing was like a million pyro jacks just getting obliterated. It's like, oh geez, is that what this is?
Which made me sad because seeing any like nice little demon getting massacred by stupid phantom thieves like hurts. And then this trailer, I felt good up until the part where Morgana, the worst character in all of anything, is killing a bunch of Jack Frost, and the pain that you can see visible on their faces is so sad. It's like those commercials where the girl is telling you to donate to like stop animal abuse or whatever. I'm just like,
Sarah McLachlan, an angel,
yeah, and I hear the song and I'm just like, dang it!
Oh damn! Someone edit that. Someone play it in slow mo and play Sarah McLachlan over it.
It's so sad. It actually like legitimately made me sad watching that. It was so not good. Of all the things to do, like do not like spit on Jack Frost that way, please. But the game looked good, except the heart hair girl, which I think her name. I forgot her. They revealed her name, but I can't remember what it was.
I don't know.
I don't remember either. It's not is it? Please tell me.
No, it's not. It's dang it. Give me a second. Talk about how you guys
while
feel
you do
about
that. Yeah, I'm going to talk about it for a second because I also watched the trailer and it's interesting because like, the very first teaser, all they showed was some of the like I think just stills and a little bit of the combat and action. It was like, this looks like it sucks. But in this trailer, you see stuff. You see like story content. You see like some platforming stuff, like almost like a stealth section. You see like roaming around all what looks like not quite an open world, but at least sort of an open area to walk around in. And not a lot of that stuff is not present in Musou games. Usually it's like you load into an area and you just cut stuff up for 10 or 15 minutes.
Yeah, the mechanics for like the wire are similar to P5R, where he just kind of swings around up to the platforms.
Yeah, he can get up. He uses the grappling hook, which I called in when we first discussed one of the Royale, Persona 5 Royale things. I was like, I hope that the grappling hook plays a bigger role in the game, and it's at least playing a role in this game, which is cool.
Oh, it's nice. It's kind of weird that they added that element but didn't add Kasumi.
Maybe she'll be DLC. Maybe that's what they're waiting for. Or maybe she'll be
Yeah,
a base part of the
so.
game, and they're just going to trick everyone. I don't know.
One of the things that was interesting about this actually is DLC. So people were already kind of butthurt because DLC has been kind of like a hot button issue lately, especially with Persona 5 Royale's DLC, which we'll talk about briefly later in this episode. But the DLC for this game, if you pre-order it, is background music, and it's all like the best battle music from each Persona game. So you got Lone Prayer, and then whatever the other ones are.
You can. Oh, so are you saying you have to pre-order to get the song?
Yeah, as the pre-order bonus is those background tracks. I think it's 6 tracks because it's Persona 1, Persona 2, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I mean, that's consistent with how they handled in the past, right? Because in P5, you could buy costumes that came with. They were like bundled with what are they called? Battle themes for different ones.
Yeah, but this one's better because I just want to like, I don't know.
It would be much nicer, obviously, to have a jukebox thing where you just like you have access to these songs. It doesn't cost them anything to put them in there, so it is stupid. But it's consistent at least. I'll give them that.
Yeah, and it's just interesting. This one does look like it's a cut above any other release in terms of Musou games so far, just because it has more going on with it. And it also has that Persona 5 aesthetic, which is very pleasing if you're someone who likes that, like Hideo Kojima, or who else will like it? The guy who made Smash Bros. Also, like,
wasn't it voted as like the
Sakurai?
favorite design of whatever the year it came out? Yeah, everyone loved it.
Everyone loves it. I mean, I like it. Like I like literally, if I was going to scale it 1 from 10, it's like a 5, where it's like, oh, it's cool. But like,
what's a 10? Like, do not say Jack Bros. What's a 10?
I don't think there's I've never really thought of UI as something to like really pay attention to, and because
just the general like the like sense of the aesthetic to it, like everything all together, not just the UI, which is part of it. But
okay, then fine. I'll give this more like a 7 or an 8. Like a 4 would be like most Final Fantasy ones. A 10 would be one where there's no like UI. Basically, it's just like seamlessly like going back and forth. Like Dark Souls, I like a lot. I know people will say that's not good, but I like it. So shut up.
I wouldn't put it above in terms of whole aesthetic. It does unify an aesthetic by not. It does more showing than telling, which is very clever. It doesn't give you a lot of expository dialogue or anything like that. And a lot of the stuff is optional. So it does a pretty good job of keeping things consistent.
Because all this one does to me, like what the only difference is that this one just stylishly transitions you from the gameplay to a bunch of menus, and regardless of what the UI is, that you're always going to end up at a bunch of menus. So I'd rather just have like one that has as minimal interaction with my experience as possible, or just not look ugly like most Final Fantasy ones. Like those are the ones that come to mind as like the horrible ones.
Well, we can agree that Final Fantasy is trash.
I wish the first one was the last one, but you know.
Glib, you haven't really weighed in on Scramble. What do you think? You're gonna buy it?
I probably will buy it. Actually, looks like the best Musou game I've ever seen, to be honest. I mean, I've only played a few of them now. I've only played like the Gundam 1, the Gundam 3 and 2, I think, and I played it. That's the original.
I wonder if it's even appropriate to call it that at this point, because it's just like it looks like there's so much more going on.
It's still going to have the same type of gameplay, I guarantee it.
For sure, because if you notice, one of the things they cleverly don't do in this is show you how much the gameplay is going to basically just be a Musou gameplay. They try to show you as much.
If it's good,
they show you a variety of everything,
Yeah, so I'm fully prepared for there to be a little bit more than a normal Musou game, but the skeptical part of me is saying that there's going to just be some world traversal, and then the rest of it's going to be basically like every other Musou game in the world. Still,
go ahead. to recap, you said earlier the DLC you get this music if you pre-order the game, right?
Yes,
That has to be that day, or like just is it like a period of time?
I believe pre-ordering is any time before the pre-order period is over, and typically the pre-order periods for Japan is about a week before the game releases. Is when you can no longer pre-order.
So you get the code. You don't have to like go on the PSN and get the download for free while it's up, right? So you just get a code.
Bruh.
Well, I just want to make sure because I want to wait for reviews. I want to see if I could redeem the code.
Well, yeah,
and then,
it's different for the Western release too, I'm sure.
Yeah, the Western release will probably just have it
up until the day before, and even then, a lot of games have what are called day one editions that have like they count as pre-orders. And some games, like Final Fantasy 15, had day one editions for like 3 months you could get that counted basically as pre-orders and had that stuff on it. Whatever dumb shit they gave you.
Yeah, and the pre-order codes usually have
benefits.
They usually have like a expiration date on them, but the expiration date is either at lowest is like 3 months after release, or at highest I've seen is like a year or two, which is yeah. But either way,
don't worry about it for Western release. I guess the Japanese is a bit harder or something. I don't know.
If anything, worry about which version you're getting, because if you get the Switch version, you're gonna have the worst experience, guaranteed. People are excited that it's on the Switch, but just remember, Switch games are the Switch Musou games that they've gotten so far are all inferior compared to the PS4 release in terms of graphical fidelity as well as lag and whatever the other frame rate. So
input delay.
Reduced enemy count.
Yeah, they basically have to trim the fat. Well, not even trim the fat. They trim the actual gameplay.
It is like a cell phone basically. The Switch, it's like a better cell phone.
Yeah, which I like. You can like the Switch or whatever. You can prefer that as a console, but just know that there will be a lesser quality to the experience. And I would prefer that everyone just buys it on the PS4, because then you won't have the problem and you'll be happy. Because I've played a couple of the Switch versions of the ports. I played specifically a One Piece Musou game and a what's it called? What are the elf guy?
Hyrule Warriors.
Hyrule Warriors, yeah. I played that and I was like, this is not good. Like, it feels like it's almost worse than the Wii U version. I mean, I could be wrong, but it feels like it's worse. But I know for sure the One Piece one is worse because I watched gameplay of it, because I wasn't sure why it was so bad in terms of the lag and input blah and frame rate blah,
It's also One Piece, which is ugly and bad. So
what I like One Piece art style. It's like watching a Japanese ripoff of Disney, kind of almost like Osamu Tezuka, but a more modern Disney, I guess.
What if instead it was called One Piece of Shit?
What if instead I killed you with my bare hands?
How about that? You ever think about that?
I think this might actually be more popular than I was assuming it would be, considering they're keeping the social elements and all that and the aesthetic from
yeah.
So I was expecting this to be received very, very poorly, and it was at first, but I think that's going to reverse now that trailer's out.
Yeah, I was watching, or not watching, I was looking at the articles, and like all of the websites are basically making it sound like this is the second coming of Jesus. So it's really interesting. I mean, then again, I guess putting Persona in any article is pretty good for your website's traffic.
Unless it's Persona Q2, then
read
it.
The scary part about this, though, is that now only people talking about, hey, this is cross-platform, bro. We can get all these games on other platforms now. SMT5 on PS4 now? PS5? It's time. Right now.
Not gonna happen. No.
Everyone just on Switch.
No game on Switch. Switch should just be canceled.
I like my Switch.
That's sorry. I'm like probably like the only person who's super vocal about hating Nintendo. If you hate Nintendo,
has less games on the Switch. Guess which one, Larrue?
The Virtual Boy, because it had like 12 games, I believe. No, it had more than that. It had like 18 games, I think. Which is also
the Vita has no.
The the Vita, the game system that actually is good, that sold well in Japan and wasn't sold well here because all of the English media conspired against it, and all mouth breathers refused to accept that there's quality games on a console that is physically superior to the 3DS, both in durability and build quality. A game console that has so many megaten games that are of good quality that you can play Persona 1 on it and have a good time because you can actually do the one dungeon that is not included in the PS1 release. A console so great that it comes in multiple colors, from orange to blue.
The 3DS comes in multiple colors too. That's not a real feature. Also, have you considered the following? Have you considered the following? The PS Vita has no games.
Or you could buy a PS TV.
No.
There you go. Same thing.
You cannot play. No, because you can't play it on the go. 3DS sucks because it's built for people with tiny hands.
I carry a TV with me everywhere, so I plug in my PS TV. I have my TV in my hands as I'm walking, and I can play on the
handhelds
go.
don't leave the house. It's going to get stolen if I do.
So this is the last episode of this podcast, actually. This is where it ends because you guys have opinions that are different from mine, and that makes me angry.
So speaking of ending, we're going to end our discussion of Persona 5 Scramble, which looks very promising now. Big ups for that new trailer. Let's see how it really is in real life, but so far I'm very optimistic now.
Yeah, I like to call it a teaser because it doesn't give enough information for us to really understand what it is, and that's like teasing, it's like teasing. You just tease.
Yeah, basically. It's not like a real trailer, but
yeah,
pretty good.
Persona 5 Royale will probably be out by the time you guys hear this podcast, but just know that one of the DLC things is the Demonica from Strange Journey, and that's relevant because it is one of the best megaten designs of all time.
It's definitely one of my favorite.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I like
Three people said it's good. We don't even have to hear what Glib has to say.
Wow.
What?
Say it's good.
I'm hurt. Strange Journey is best game. That must mean the Anka is good.
Bam. So that's 4 very highly intellectual people. We're scholars of megaten at this point. I think anybody who's played both Makken and SMT-IF are probably the most intelligent people that you can find in the fan base. And if we say Strange Journey is good, you gotta believe us.
Yes, that is true.
There's another part of this script where it just says 13 Sentinel Spiders.
Yeah, it's a tower defense game.
Are you serious?
What?
Yeah. So what you do is you get your little mech, and you have to guard your big giant glowing tower that looks like a fountain from alien kaiju that are invading the Earth or something.
Interesting.
I'm not sure if they're actually aliens because they said it might just be foreign or something. I'm not sure. It's hard to tell. It's in another language, okay?
Wow. I actually did not anticipate tower defense as the next Vanillaware title, concept.
Yeah, it's you just protect your little tower and you get 4 units. I don't know if you get more because there's not a whole lot of gameplay trailers, so it's really hard to tell if that's how it's going to stay. But you get 3 different types of mechs. You get close range, which is a one set of characters. They can only pilot close range mechs. And then there's a mid-range one where it's close and medium, and a long range one. Oh wait, there's another one too. There's a aerial one. They are in the air, but they do support. So you have the 4 different types. And they're all linked to a single character.
Wow.
So, and on top of that, there's also time travel. So you're going through different, I think the main setting is in 1985, and some of the characters are from 2020 something or rather, and then some of the characters are from 1944. So it mostly takes place in the Showa era.
That part is pretty much the most interesting part of the game, it sounds like. Do you know the release date?
No, I don't.
So it's
it's next month. November, end of November. Yeah. I forgot if it's the 28th or something like that. I forgot. Nice. I didn't write it down in my notes, so eek. Yeah.
So that's one of the games where I just feel so bad because I want to pay attention to it, and Atlas is hardcore pushing it right now. Like at least Atlas Japan is, because like most of their posts are pretty much just that. But I also hate knowing too much information about something, and Atlas Japan always does that too. So I've just kind of been avoiding it and waiting until I can get my hands on it. It looks interesting though, and hearing it that it's a tower defense is probably the most weirdest thing I could have thought of for that. So that makes me kind of interested, because I think Vanillaware titles are typically pretty high quality. So that's cool. And
the map is kind of hard to read though. Like there's a lot of, well, it's not too bad. You can actually see, but it's like the enemies are little glowing pieces, or they'll sometimes have like a big giant mech on the board too. But there's like a lot of grid stuff that makes it hard to look at. Other than that, though, it's nice. Let's see, what else was there? Oh, there's 13 protagonists that you have to play from different perspectives. So 13 characters, all with their own story. Some of them far more interesting than others. And if you look into it, you're going to find spoilers, so don't do that.
Okay, then I'll not look into it. I'll just play it when it comes out. Speaking of coming out, Glib. No, I'm just kidding.
Whoa!
Sorry,
Oh my God.
I'd
like to call the police.
No, well, what I was actually going to segue into is the Kaneko Works 8, which was supposed to come out in August, is delayed. It's hard to read when it's coming out because certain websites list still August, and you can't pre-order it anymore, but it's still in pre-order. It's weird. And a lot of the ones that still allow for you to pre-order it say it's coming out in December. One of them specifically says December 31st, but that sounds like a placeholder. Sorry, there's a plane going over.
I'm not sure what happened there. That's what, the second delay?
Yeah, it's like the second or the third delay, because I believe the fourth book was delayed, or was it the fifth? Whichever one was like the first half of Devil Survivor or Devil Summoner. It got delayed, which is weird. And they never issue any statements. The publishing company never says anything really, actually, even though they're on social media. But they did also announce the release of Kaneko Works Volume 9, and that one is slated to be released next month in November. So Kaneko Works 8 has Persona 1 and 2 art, and then 9 has Digital Devil Saga, Raito 1, and Makin X, which I guess means what? 10 will have Strange Journey and Raito 2?
Maybe, yeah.
That sounds like it
came in. I forgot what else came out then.
Ooh, what if it just has like the rest of his like art that's not megaten stuff? That'd be cool.
That would be nice.
So we at least know there's going to be at least one more book, because there's at least 2 more entries to the Megaten franchise that doesn't have Kaneko art published. Strange Journey is pretty much the most barren. You can't find anything really. And that's interesting. I am kind of sad that they've already announced the book 9 before they even released book 8. We don't even know what the cover art for book 8 is actually, which is bizarre.
I wonder if they're having production issues with their manufacturer or something.
It has to be something related to production. Is like, there's a part of me that wants to do some sort of crazy theory, but I don't want to like even bring up or entertain that on the podcast, because it's one of those things that like it's like a Yamaneko like level of dumb that I'm kind of thinking at. I hope it's just production. I hope that it's something related to maybe they got the proof and the proof is like wrong, or something is like they have to like edit something. Because in this one, there's confirmed like an extra bit of content. The last, 4, 5, 6, 7, all those entries don't have anything additional. It's just the art, just the descriptions of the demons. 8 is supposed to have a foreword by one of the writers who helped create that Megaten Maniacs book, which is the book that's included in the special edition of Deep Strange Journey.
Oh, that book is great.
Yeah, so I'm kind of excited. that's in there, and I'm like, maybe there's something wrong with relation to that or something. There's no way of knowing though, and I just hope that this placeholder of December is actually not a placeholder, and maybe it's actually coming out in December.
I guess we'll see.
Yeah. And then speaking of December, Atlas USA's online store is in its December, which is, like the way you say, like the last legs of its life. When you're old, you're in like the winter of your life.
Stretch.
It was on its last legs when they opened it.
Oh my god, Atlas USA's online store was such an interesting story. It's such an interesting tale of how you need to actually have a dedicated like group of people working on the website and managing and shipping product.
Who would have thought?
Turns out, yeah, it's rather difficult. And they released an official statement a couple of days ago, as well as an update to their website, which gives you facts about what's happening. And it just tells you that the store is closing, but it's not the end of Atlas selling merch, which to me means that they're probably going to be reopening a store or possibly merging with the Sega store, which I feel like is likely.
Yeah, weren't they like... I feel like we covered this before, something about the Sega store getting new stuff that wasn't on the Atlas store? Wasn't that a thing? Maybe
that was the Bandai Europe's website. Briefly had
okay.
Persona stuff pop up.
That's unrelated. Never mind. Sorry.
So you merge with the Sega store. Does that mean we could get something besides the SMT4 roll scroll?
My hope is that they just start importing stuff, because there's still stuff on the Japanese version of the Atlas store that is old and hasn't sold out yet. So stuff like from SMT4, they have like these weird earphone jacks earphone jack covers. You know how you can, if you don't want to have dirt get into your earphone jack in Japan or in other parts of Asia, it's pretty common to put a plug there, and it's usually just like a cute thing, like an animal or whatever. Mm-hmm. But the SMT4 ones are the icon markers for the character. So it's like a little blue one or a little red one, and it's cool. There's several other things that are just on the store that have been there for forever, and just give like the Western audience a chance to buy it. Import in batches. It's not a difficult process, and there's so much new Jack Frost merch that they could just easily port. They don't have to import everything. They could even just do the plushes, and I think that'll be all right. So yeah, it's just a thing that happened, and I kind of hope that they don't just have a whole bunch of Persona 5 merch, because even that didn't sell particularly well. They still have sales right now where some of the merch, like clothes that were originally $30 are a measly $5.
Yeah. Although the one thing to note is they went ham on Persona 5 merch, Like the quantity is so vast that
the
course
quantity is
a
fast
lot of it
and
is.
the quality is really ugly.
Yeah. I didn't like a lot of it. It's like a little too garish.
Yeah, it's the kind of merch that I think appeals to someone who would shop at Hot Topic or is like just overly young and wants people to know what they like. So it's not just a classy way of being like, I like On from Persona. It's like being like, hey, you guys, On! Like just loudly yelling. I was going to loudly yell, but it's late here.
Thank you.
So not only that, but compound that with the website itself being very not well designed. It was not easy to navigate. If you wanted to look for something, you have to click the thing, and then you have to know the general category. You couldn't search like a thing, like the search queries were kind of weird. And there was also times that I found where merch was incorrectly named or incorrectly identified. So there was a point where that one wall scroll was listed as Persona 5 merch, and there was an instance where the one Persona 5 mug, literally the only mug in the whole store, was listed as SMT4 merch. So it was like just weird stuff that it was just poorly managed, and I'm kind of glad that they recognize that maybe they have to reevaluate how they do it. Maybe like literally anyone could be hired to like not mess it up this time. And yeah, I think our final bit of news is D2's SMT anniversary. It's literally 4 days from now?
It's 3 for me. It's just turned to 12. So yeah.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Something like that.
Yeah, and it's cool because it's celebrating the release of the first ever SMT game, not to be confused with the first ever megaten game, which is Digital Devil Story Megami Tensei, released September 11th. This is SMT1 that they're celebrating, and this anniversary is kind of like a big deal in Japan, but weirdly enough, you only find it being celebrated by D2. And even weirder is that the 3 demons that they decided to use as celebratory fodder are Uriel, Raphael, and Gabriel. But the Gabriel design they use is not the Gabriel from SMT1, it's the Gabriel from SMT2. So they're celebrating.
That is a little bit bizarre, yeah.
So what are your guys' thoughts on like just the idea of, I guess, the anniversary or even the event itself? It's a typical event, basically like the Bayonetta or Dante event where you just kill things forever and then you get items that you can use to get cool things at a slight discount than if you had just paid for them, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like a evolution on like a predatory business model where the concept is you want to encourage sales, and the way you do that is you print 3 new demons who are all synergized with each other. And I think they're probably not that insanely powerful, but they have some pretty strong effects. And if you only get 1, then that's not that cool. So it's a way to encourage more sales.
Free.
Well, they give you Michael for free, yeah, but you don't get one of the 3 new ones. Which are the ones that all synergize? Because I don't think Michael gets any bonuses from the other ones, does he?
No.
Yeah, I think he only gives bonuses if you have the other ones. Like, gives bonuses to them. Anyway, but it is it is kind of neat. I wasn't expecting them to do an event like this because they haven't really. People have been talking about the idea that they could do like a collab with themselves. You know, like have an event where it's like, oh, it's about Strange Journey or Nocturne or whatever, and they do like throwback designs to those old demons and have a whole event about that, which they've never done. People talked about, so it is pretty neat that they're sort of paying even more homage to the older games, which they've been doing, but not as much as people thought they might.
Yeah, I actually kind of hope that. My thing is, I hope that this is kind of a thing that they'll use in the future, because if this is a successful market or model, maybe they'll do that for the release of Strange Journey and have a Bugaboo demon like event.
That's the only thing you care about.
Yeah, imagine. Okay, this is how it'll be. The cutscene will be like Mastema talking about like this weird like field opening up that he's familiar with, and you're like, okay. And then they say like they're cringy, like bad dialogue. And then you go to the field and it's the Schwarzfeld. And then inside the Schwarzfeld, you hear just like this weird like dialogue. You just hear like, boo, boo, bada, boo. And you're like, whoa. So then you start grinding until you get like 1,000,000 bandages. And then you can trade that in for a Bugaboo.
Wow. I'm definitely very excited for that. Not completely nonchalant and uninterested.
Yeah, so just think about that, everybody. Just if we all put our like energy towards that happening, everyone spend money on this event. I want to see if the megaten Twitter wakes up to acknowledge the anniversary, because it woke up to acknowledge Strange Journey's release date, which I thought was interesting. So let's see if it does that again for SMT1.
It's just going to be SMT5 is canceled posts. Because, that's just how it is. One of the things I thought was interesting is back during the anniversary, they talked about wanting to do more megaten events. The hosts, or they wanted the game to do more megaten events, because someone in the audience, they had asked the audience what they wanted to see as a crossover, because they had already announced Bayonetta and I think just Bayonetta at the time.
Uh-huh.
And of course the audience says righto, because the Japanese audience. But that's the host talking about why there hasn't been for D2 any megaten content. So
Right.
stuff like this is nice. They're actually acknowledging the series as a whole.
Yeah.
Whereas before there's like some references in the game and then that's it.
Yeah. There's some funny stuff with like, they put in like the old weird Moscato design and they put in like Maneater and Bodyconian. It's like not like high demand, like interesting designs that people really love. So the stuff like that is cool, but yeah, hope to see more like self collab. A self collab would be cool.
Yeah, same.
All right. Back on the event itself, though. I'm kind of mad because like I went for the Archangels for like months now, so I'm kind of really tilted because like now I won't be able to get them probably. I mean, I haven't rolled yet, but I'm really kind of tilted right now. And then like
you haven't even tried to get them, and you're already saying you're never going to get them.
He's not going to get them. That's what I'm about to start now. The tickets they made for the event are actually terrible, and you get like maybe 20 of them. They're like 1% chance of 5 stars and 5% chance of 4 stars. Like what even is this, man? Come on, Sega. What are you doing?
Yeah, they're trying to get you to pay money. What do you think this is?
Well, it worked.
See?
That game will never get me to pay money. There's too much grinding. I haven't even finished half the demons that I have in my roster. They're just sitting there rotting because I don't feel like doing stuff.
You're the wisest one of us.
All I want is a full team of Archangels, bro. That's all I want in life.
Yeah,
like
you're never gonna get it. And I hope that I'm gonna like email Sega and be like, hey,
mess with this guy's rates, please. I'll buy everything. Buy all your gem packs.
Every gem pack. But yeah, that's interesting, and I'm kind of excited to see what they do for the Christmas event because now they've already done like back-to-back 2 pretty big events. So that just leaves Christmas and New Year's, I believe, and then the anniversary. Yeah,
I'm saving up for see what they'll do for Christmas as well. I don't really care about the Archangels, so whatever.
Yeah, they suck. They really do suck. And they also changed the design. So the art, if you compare the art to the actual models, I mean, I guess you can do that for any of them and see that there's a difference. One of the things for Gabriel specifically is that her like plate mail is very specific in how like her chest is designed. So when you look at the actual model, they gave her like really pretty big angelic breasts, which I think is weird because she's not like supposed to have a gender, I guess. And also like, why is that necessary at all? Like, why was that a necessary change versus like the nipple removal for a bodyconian?
I don't know what angelic breasts means, but this does sound.
It goes from like a B cup to like a C or a D.
Okay,
and I think that's
lewd. That's a cool new euphemism. Angelic breasts. She's of the angelic persuasion.
I say that fairly often, so I feel like everyone should be acclimated.
You've never said that in your life. Shut up.
Listen to the second podcast. I'm pretty sure I say it.
No. All right. Anyway, anyone else have anything else they want to shout out or mention?
They could give me Archangels now. I'm not asking. I'm telling you.
Nope. Not allowed.
Okay.
So questions now?
Oh, right. We do have some questions. We have 5, I believe, my last count.
Yes.
No.
So for reference, anyone that wants to know, follow at DidYouKnowTensei on Twitter.com and put your questions there. And there's also a Facebook group, correct?
But no one, I mean, I don't use
the
Yeah. And whenever they do, those are like the worst responses. Maybe that's why they don't do it anymore.
Well, we have a couple regulars on Facebook. Well, anyway, go on one of those and ask questions. I got them right here. First question comes from @CafeDoro on Twitter. All right, so with 2 questions. The first one is SMT5 a government simulation in order to keep us forever trapped in this fake reality? I'm going to take this one first. I don't think so, because it doesn't exist. And it's never going to come out. So I guess in a way, spiritually they're the same, because both of these are wrong and they're not real. Like, there is no government simulation. Reality is just hell. We are in some other world's hell. People are enjoying themselves there. We're stuck here. What about you guys? What do you think?
I think that the final boss in SMT5 is going to be Demiurge, and actually, this is a meta thing right now. He's keeping you eternally tortured while you're waiting for SMT5. So, it's kind of deep. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of making you big think right now. Atlas has really gone out the
Yes. I do like the Gnostic take on that. That's good.
I think here's my super good clever joke. I think Tokyo Mirage Sessions is no. Follow me closely.
That's the wrong question.
Tokyo Mirage Sessions is SMT5. There you go.
Oh, no follow-up or explanation for any of that?
Oh, the answer to the question is yes.
I see.
I'm going to completely ignore the question and talk about something else.
Okay, perfect.
So I was reading the staff interviews for recruiting on Twitter, and they had an interview from one of the staff members about the development cycles for their games. So some of the smaller games, like the dancing games, probably would be like 1 to 2 years, or probably around 2 years for development time, whereas their regular titles are 3 to 4. So, and SMT has been in 5 has been in development for 2 years, maybe. Yeah,
something like that.
All right.
Okay. Well, I think we got that one. Oh yeah, and he said this is sort of like a follow-up question or second question. Is TMS being based on the Western version a deal breaker for you? We sort of actually covered this, I guess.
I'll answer for the whole group. It's yes.
Okay.
Where none of us are buying it, and Nintendo die.
censorship wasn't the deal breaker, so it was idols.
Right.
The real idols are the something we made along the something.
Yep. Was the women we censored along the way. All right. Anyway, Lord Kazia1 on Twitter writes in and asks, why the hell did anyone buy that absolutely terrible scam known as Persona 3 and 5 dancing?
Because they're good quality rhythm games, just kind of sold at a premium price. If you were gonna realistically buy them, they should have been like $10 for both or something, because they're just basically song packs for Dancing 4,
Right.
It's a lot of DLC too. Although I suppose it's extra, but the songs don't really feel extra.
Yeah.
I never played them, and I also don't know why anyone would play a rhythm game in their life. Guitar Hero is the only good one, and I haven't played that in probably 20 years or something.
Way to date yourself, boomer.
That just means I'm older than 20 years old. It's not old. that could be 20 in 1 month.
Yeah, but the average age for this podcast is 19, and you're 20, so.
No, it's not. You're like 33.
Don't dox my age.
Larrue was like 56.
Yeah, sorry, I misspoke. Correct, 56. All right, Glib, why did you buy the dancing games? Why are you propping up this monstrous enterprise?
Because I must consume.
Interesting. Next question comes in from Flaming Lizard 06 on Twitter. Writes and asks, are you exited? I suppose it's excited about P5 Scramble. I think it will be fine, but I fear it will have a lackluster roster. This is also something we sort of covered, but we didn't really talk about roster. We kind of mentioned it with the new girl with the heart stuff going on, and the concern of whether or not Kasumi would be part of the main cast. But sort of what I mentioned was like they can cure that with DLC, and that's. I think if you're worried about the number of characters, just wait until you see the DLC.
There's going to be a lot of DLC,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, that's probably not a big concern to have.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm assuming they'll probably add like you and Makoto because Is that his name now? Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Whatever.
Door or
Emo Boy, yeah. Emo Boy and Chad.
I think people are more like the thing that I saw on Twitter. People are just complaining because they think that it's going to just be limited to Persona 3 through 5 roster. And while that's still a large roster, people want anything else. And if you're Japanese or if you've played a 2006 Megaten title, then you'll be familiar with Raido Kuzunoa. And that makes more sense in this game's context in terms of like similar style or whatever.
I think it's highly likely that it'll only be Persona 3 and 4.
Yeah, I think so too.
Highly, highly likely.
Yeah, I'd put money on that.
All right. Next question.
Okay. We got Matagen_N on Twitter writes in and says, "Hola, fellow megatenists. What SMT and Persona characters and demons do you guys think vape?"
Bafu.
Okay.
Yeah, Bafu vapes. I feel like Jimenez would vape too.
Vapes.
Yeah, I
He
could
would
see him.
definitely vape. He would vape on the ship when there's he'd do it in front of a sign that said "Please no vaping," and he'd just like have like a grin, staring at people like, "I'm a rebel."
Yeah.
Like, I'm not sure about demons.
Uh,
Jack Frost would probably try.
yeah.
Just because everybody else is doing it.
Oh, now it's sad. Now I have a sad vaping Jack Frost image in my head.
He's gonna get that fat deposit disease as people have. Have you heard of that?
No?
It's like people smoking like weird bootleg vape pens. And they get some mysterious illness where they got like fat deposits in their lungs and they can't breathe and cool stuff like
I
that.
think they
Anyway,
found the
Jack
people
Frost is
who were
gonna die.
distributing that.
Yes, yeah. It was a couple different things going on, I think, but yeah. Anyway, Jack Frost is gonna die from that. Glib vaping opinions?
I think Charlie from SNTF would.
Yes. A lot of chaos people would, because vaping is very chaotic because it's stupid and meaningless and doesn't really have any value to your character.
Yeah.
Yeah. Final question comes from SMT Network on Twitter, who asks, "How much Maka to come on?" Which I guess means as a guest. A guest spot. The going rate is like probably like $1 million.
If you bring Maka, I'm going to tell you to bring more.
Yes.
I'll tell you.
Bring more Maka next time.
Give me money for gems, you can take my spot, my guy.
Damn.
Buy him the $8
Glib
gem
over
pack.
here.
I'll buy Glib the $8 Glib gem pack to get out.
Just
I'm
take
letting
Glib's
him be-
spot and don't replace him.
Well,
I
think that's
don't
it.
know.
Yeah.
Whatever. We'll figure out guests at some point. We don't. The problem is like we already have 4 people that don't know what they're talking about. So adding a 5th one is like I don't know. We have to find someone like really like skilled or whatever. And
Well, that
I
guy
don't know.
is actually the reason why he asked is because he's the one that runs the SMTN podcast, which has like 170 episodes or so.
Oh, wow.
nice. That's cool.
Yeah. But that being said, guests are like a future thing, and we like to think in the present only.
Exactly. I'm a
Planning
solipsist.
ahead is for losers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nothing exists outside of my mind.
You can count to 100.
Diglib. This is, I guess, the where we cut the podcast off. What? Okay, this is where it ends.
Yes.
And let me try to be glib. Oh, no, I can't even do it. Something about a
the
spider
chop.
with the most legs. Spider.
What?
It's the outro. We're doing the outro.
The glib
What?
from out the space panda from the outside nebular.
Okay, everybody get out. The show's over.
All right,
Get
that's
out.
me. Yep. All right. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
Goodbye. Goodbye.